What is going on, guys? Back with another weekly recap of trading, and I decided that would be a good idea to pull up the Paint software and just write this down. Did I follow my plan? Because ultimately, accountability is going to be the number one thing that pushes you forward and actually allows you to progress in your trading journey. Now, at the beginning of this week, actually the weekend before the week started, I got a whiteboard and I simply wrote, did I follow my plan? It either says yes or no. And every single morning of the trading, before the market opened, I would look at it and I would seriously reflect, am I actually going to follow my rules today or am I going to bullshit? And this is how it turned out. So on Monday, essentially, we hold on. Monday, no, a little more. So Monday, one, two, three, four. Okay. So Monday was a win, and this is my first trade with my XFAs. So let's just take a look at what I said. I said we instantly took out Asia high, and you could have had an entry if you set a limit for a retrace, and unfortunately I was not able to recognize that at the time. However, markets still continued to run, and so I looked for other possible targets when I noticed previous day high on the S&P 500, and it was much more likely than in the Nasdaq. So when we had the strong 15-minute close, I basically wanted to see us retrace into it and move higher, but we completely faded it and it ended up retracing on the 5-minute, and that's when I noticed that we probably won't retrace into the 15-minute the way we were moving. So I executed off the 1 minute and 5-minute close, had a proper high to go break even, and the trade played out. But I messed up my sizing and unfortunately made half of what I could have. But it's just a learning lesson. As long as I followed my plan, the money will come with it. Okay, so this is a picture of the 1 minute time frame, and it looks textbook, right? Um, we did have a 15-minute gap lower, and my mentor basically I think he faded this mainly because we didn't tap into it, but I basically had the conviction that we were going to take previous day high just because we were so much more bullish on the S&P 500. And once I saw us flip higher, like here on, no, that's not it. Here on the 5 minute, we had this 5 minute close. That's basically where my entry was. It was right around here. I saw how the 5 minute was going to close, and I basically took the bet that we were going to hit this break even um, point before we would go into the 15-minute gap, and that allowed me to minimize risk, right? Because even if we did come into the break-even point and then come lower into the 15-minute gap, then go into the previous day high, at least I was break-even and I wouldn't have lost, right? So it's just thinking about what trades are most probable for me to minimize risk. Okay, don't even think about the profits. Think about how you can minimize risk and think about if you actually have conviction in the trade. And in that case, I did. So fortunately, I was able to win it. And let's move on to Tuesday. It looks like we had another win. And this day was actually pretty insane because I was not anticipating to add positions, but the trade, like the whole day, we just dumped. And so I basically said I waited for a strong close below Asia low because it was too close to target for shorts, but then we got a really strong 5 minute close and I had conviction that we were going to go lower because there was a huge 4 hour gap. So I took that short with fat stops and I barely saw any drawdown. We continued pushing lower and there was an opportunity for me to add position at the 1 minute gap. So I did and then trailed to break even once again. It did get pretty close actually, but thanks to God, price invalidated the retrace and continued lower to my take profit. I really wanted to target the CE of the 4 hour gap, but I feel like it would have been greedy for me to do that. So I decided to just target a little lower than the top of the gap. So I caught a little extra R. Overall, super good day, but I can't get ahead of myself. I was not expecting to take two trading days in a row. So I most likely won't be taking any more this week unless there's another perfect opportunity. Just got to stay locked in and trusting in the plan that God has for me. So really, really good journal. Essentially, market so we had Asia lows, but then we had more lows below. One being a 4 hour gap, like a huge one that in an overall bearish market, we were most likely going to come into it. So I essentially waited for a strong displacement lower. I think this probably was a 5 minute gap right here that we just tapped into, and I got a really good fill right there. We distributed lower, came back up, and here I would have rather entered right here for my adding positions, just because it was kind of sketchy that it was kind of a strong retrace, but thankfully we invalidated it. We continued pushing lower and ended up taking profit right a little past beyond the 4 hour gap, just because I had a feeling that we were gonna continue going lower. And yeah, that was a really good day. I think I made one like 1.2k, one maybe just like 1k, but that was a really good day. And then Wednesday, no trades today. Most people in my group took shorts to previous day low, and the only reason I did not was because it was a limit order trade on the 1 minute, and I personally just didn't feel comfortable with that because I like waiting for a strong 5 minute close and then set my limit order. Unfortunately, I most likely avoided a loss or break even trade. I could have won the trade depending on my stop placement, but it is what it is, and I kind of needed a no trade day since I took 2 trades in a row Monday, Tuesday, so it feels good to be locked in. Yeah, so basically every single day, like in my head, I was saying, today I'm most likely not going to trade. Today I'm most likely um, just going to be looking at the charts and then I'm going to get off, right? Because when you tell yourself, oh, I have to take a trade, you're going to end up taking a trade, and that can easily like turn into a loss, and that loss can turn into a full tilt where you blow an account, right? So my idea was I'm just going to stay as detached from the charts as possible, and that's exactly what I did. This was a possible entry right here. Really strong 1 minute gap that we were most likely going to tap into. If I was going to take the trade, it would have been somewhere around here. Um, and I would have had my stop loss at these internal highs. Most of them had it at the body high, which got taken out, so they got stopped out. Um, but once we came lower, once we flushed down here, let's say I was in the trade, I would have went break even. So bang right there, break even, and yeah. So if I was gonna take the trade, would have been break even, not a big deal. And I'm just like overall really glad that I'm staying detached from the charts, and not feeling like I need to take a trade every day. And then Thursday said nice day today, much less size because of volume, only traded 2 micros, but I took longs after we had an extremely strong 5 minute rejection to the downside, and we had an hourly gap above to retrace into. Strong 1 minute close that created a fair value gap. I limit ordered the gap and the trade played out, and I went break even at the internal high, and then held until we started wicking the CE because I wanted to see ES take it. But to me, it was sketchy the fact that we didn't take it right away, so I got out. Overall, this past week genuinely feels like one of my best weeks in trading, and it's not just from the wins, but the fact that I have mental clarity and following my system and looking to execute A plus trades. And this week there have been many presented opportunities, and I'm just taking advantage of those opportunities. So, I mean, yeah, this is like another really clean day. We had This is the 1 minute, and I mean, like I said before and the other day, I don't like limit ordering 1 minute gaps, but I feel like this was really the only case scenario for us to deliver to the fair value gap, higher time frame. So that's why I took it, and I was fully convinced that we were gonna go up there before we came into the stop loss. Right? It's always thinking about, okay, what are the chances of us actually going to a stop loss compared to our target? And I had full conviction in this, and I sized relatively light. Or I mean, I didn't size light. I sized 500, which is like my risk management plan. So it was 2 micros, which seems like a little, but there was just like a lot of volume in the candles, and I only had a size 2. So I basically saw us come into the CE of the 4 hour gap, and uh, once I saw we started like wicking out, I decided to get out, and I mean it was like a really good day. another winning day for me. And then on Friday, my journal was today was pretty solid as we manipulated lower to move higher into the 4-hour fair value gap. I simply waited to get strong displacement when we opened a 1-minute gap, and a bottom ticked perfectly. Not that was my intention, but the trade moved in my direction, and I targeted the CE of the gap when we flipped right before, resulting in me getting a 150 day. Now I do feel like I was greedy when I could have just pulled out when we were close to it, as we are in an overall bearish market, so it made sense that the gap would hold. So I should have taken profit when I could have, and this is a huge lesson for me as I actually broke a rule. And it's not a good feeling when I was almost 5 days in a row following my rules. So even though I profited, I'm not happy about this, and just got to keep it in mind as I move into the next week. So yeah, this is where targeting the CE actually got the best of me, right? Because this is literally a bottom tick. I got filled right here perfectly. We displaced higher. I was able to go break even. And I mean, I do believe I had it here because it was a 1-2-1, but the fact that just like looking at these last two candles, the way we wick down, it's just, I mean, we did eventually go into the CE and actually pushing even higher, but I do feel like I did get a bit greedy. I could have pulled out around here when I actually got stopped like down here for because I trailed my profit. So I do think that was a bit greedy of me, and is something that I'm going to be remembering and trying to work on as I move into the next week. So, I mean, overall, as you guys can see, being able to like visually see like a way for me to see if I follow my plan has been huge for me. I mean, even just because it's like been a super good week, I've been able to capitalize on all the opportunities, and I just got to keep it up, man. So that's gonna wrap it up for this week's recap. I'm looking forward to this week. Just gonna try to remain as detached from the charts as possible, to only take the high quality setups that I have full 100% conviction in, and I mean the rest is history from there. So thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to like and subscribe if you want to keep up. And yeah, that's going to wrap it up. See ya.